Hi folks, how are you? It's good to see you. Am I flying solo tonight? Well, Bruce is indisposed, unfortunately. Simon's got jury duty. I wonder who my partner is tonight. Face across the desk, I feel I've died and gone to heaven. Andrew, it's really good to see you.
Thank you, Phil. How nice to see you. And regards to Simon, if he happens to be listening on jury duty, I'm looking forward to the next couple of hours.
People might wonder the origins of that song, chosen by Simon Holmes. I think it happened at a time when you sort of relinquished your midnight show to Luke Boner. And we thought for a little while you might be on the skids. But history has proved otherwise.
Well, it has, yes. They can't keep a good man down. You can't poison enough weeds.
And the icing on the cake is that Peter Hitchener will be in about 10 minutes as well. So
oh, good.
Going to have a wonderful night, but it's overdue, folks. And I thought a topic for conversation, and mine are very lightweight, you know, late at night. Don't want to give people a headache. And I try to keep them topical. In view of what's happening down in Geelong with the mayor of Geelong and the council down there, I thought, folks, man or lady, if you could be mayor of any city in the world, where would it be and why? If you were chosen to be mayor and wore the robes and the chains and whatever, of any city in the world, where would you like it to be and why?
Well, I'd like to be a bit more than mayor. If you're going to go that far, I'd like to be emperor and have a throne. I want thrones. I want ermine robes. And I want total power of life and death.
No, my friend. You want to be Governor of Victoria.
Oh, no, that's a bit ceremonial. Although the house is good. Fabulous old house.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And great position. I mean, you can get in the city in 5 minutes.
Hey, it's still 2 months till the Queen's birthday. We could nominate each other for a Queen's birthday honour. You could fill in a form, say how terrific I am, and I'll do one for you. Do you do a lot of charity work?
A little bit, but no, you know, I put the odd coin in the guide dog at Woolworths.
Oh, do you know that wonderful story? And a lady rang up one night, said she was in Safeway as it was then, and she saw that little statue at the front door, you know, to put the coins in.
Yeah.
It was a statue of a golden retriever or a Labrador, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's a lab, isn't it?
Being a seeing eye dog. And so she thought, no, I'll support them. I'll give them some money. So she went over. She didn't have the best eyesight in the world, and she was fumbling for the slot to put the coins in, and the head of the dog moved.
It was alive.
Someone waiting for its owner, yeah. Isn't that a wonderful story?
It's almost as good as you thinking you were getting a parcel in Angela Lansbury's dressing room.
Oh, when I put my hand in a handbag. That's another story.
Oh, please tell it again. I love it.
Oh, well, I won't now. But I will later.
On.
No, I don't want to monopolise the time. It's your time. It's so good to see you. Andrew caught me in an uncompromising situation at 10 to 10. I thought, gee, I've got some Boston bun here, which is iced, you know, and coconut. Well, I'll pop it in the microwave. It's buttered. I'll pop it in the microwave for 20 seconds. It'll be even tasty because it's a few days old. And I thought it wouldn't be so stale if it was hot. So anyway, as you know, you were there. I opened the microwave door and it was so blooming hot I dropped it on the floor and exclaimed something awful.
Yes, a little expletive.
It landed on my shoe. But I've heard recently, and I went on Twitter, why does it always fall on the buttered side or the ice side?
It's Murphy's Law, isn't it?
Yeah, if it has to fall, why does it always fall on the wrong side?
So true, it always does.
But anyway, I picked it up in a hurry because I heard on 3AW the other day that if you pick something up off the floor within 5 seconds, it's less likely to have any bacteria. Do you believe that theory?
No, not at all. No, that doesn't make any sense. But there is supposed to be a restaurant rule, isn't there? That's what they do in restaurant kitchens. You know, if the steak drops on the floor, if it's only there 2 or 3 seconds, pick it up and put it back on the plate.
Yeah, I think so.
And also, someone once who worked in many restaurants over the years told me, he worked backstage as such as restaurants, told me never complain in a restaurant. Never, ever, because they will do something to your food when you go and send your plate back.
I believe it.
And usually there's always one person in the kitchen who will do something rather odorous to your food.
Very nasty, I can imagine. Pete Smith always has an idiom, and Pete always says, never stand in anything you can't eat.
Never stand in anything you can't eat.
No, I think it's the other way around.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
I think it should be never eat anything that you stand in or something. Peter again and just
So you stand in a cow, do you, before you have a steak?
No. Hey, a compliment to you, a full board already on 96900 693. Have you got the TV ratings? I'd love to know.
Yes. Now,
how
all
everyone
right. Well, this is from last night.
Maybe work from 10 backwards for suspense.
Number 10 in Melbourne last night, 10th most watched program film, Australian Story. Oh, that was interesting too. That was sad. Yeah, that was sad.
Whose story was it?
Well, it was to do with Port Arthur. It's the 20th anniversary almost.
Yes. I think Ray Martin did it on Current Affair also.
Yeah, this is the Channel 2 take on it.
Yeah.
ABC News was number 9. Married at First Sight, a program I just cannot believe reality TV has gone to this level.
Yeah.
It was the 8th most watched program. Do people really get married at first sight for TV exposure?
Yeah, how long would it last?
Well,
You wonder, wouldn't you?
It's beyond comprehension. A Current Affair, still doing well. Number 7 last night. Four Corners came in at number 6.
Yeah.
The ABC.
Gee, that's been around forever.
Ever, hasn't
Do you
it?
remember we used to have a theme that went da 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 dum 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 da dum da dum?
I think it still
I
has.
don't think so.
Oh, they changed, sorry. 7 News Today Tonight as a package came in at number 5 last night. 9 News at 6:30. Well, it starts at 6, doesn't it? Why would it have
No,
6?
that would be the second half.
Oh, the second half. That's interesting. Came in at number 4. 7 News came in at number 3. Number 2 was 9 News. That would be the 6 p.m. news, I
That's
assume.
right. And,
That first half.
And well deserved.
That's not very well explained, is it, though? And number 1 program watched in Melbourne last night. Have a guess.
Is it still My Kitchen
It
Rules?
is still My Kitchen.
How long's that going to keep
God,
running?
it's been a juggernaut, hasn't it? It's incredible.
We must get a cooking show together and take it to one of the TV stations.
You can heat up Boston buns.
It's already 10:15. Now, I have to make an executive decision here. We're about to do a commercial for Ian Reid.
We are too, yes,
Now,
thank you.
Let's see if you're on the ball. Why won't we do it?
Because we've just had it in the ad break,
That's absolutely right.
a recorded version.
Yes, so we'll save it till later. I know Simon Owens is listening, our executive producer, and I have made an executive decision. What am I? I've decided we'll do it later.
If only he could pronounce the words.
Thank you. Here's a familiar piece of music.
You know, Phil, I believe that plays when you press his doorbell. Someone told me.
Yes, it does. And if you decide to get it on the passenger side of my car, it also plays.
And also, when you ring Peter, you hear it on the phone as well.
Absolutely. And when you come round to my place, you have to sit through 8 hours of replays of the best of the news. You just love it. I go to work to get away from it, actually.
Oh, no, and if he addresses Probus or something, that's his music as he walks on stage.
As he struts like a peacock into the...
women up and down the aisle saying, "Here, have a DVD, take it home."
Oh, no, it goes further. I was in Woolworths the other day, and Peter walked in the door and came through the intercom over the public address.
Absolutely.
He just loves his job, Phil.
It's so frightening. My dogs jump a mile when the news starts. It's so loud and so dramatic, isn't it?
Rather, isn't it?
It does get our attention.
It certainly does. How are the dogs, by the way?
Oh, they're wonderful. I'll show you a picture later of Oro and Alice. He was neutered during the week, and so he's feeling a bit sore and sorry for himself. He's
Peter and I are both crossing our legs at the moment.
Strangely uncomfortable. all of a sudden.
You could say he's a bit of a sad sack.
Oh, poor little
Well,
thing.
yes.
Yes. You're good when you think about it. Now look, how's life? Is everyone having a good
It's
time?
just fun. I've been thinking
How's
about...
Uki?
Oh, the Ookster is just fine.
She's wonderful. She'll be listening, of course, taking notes.
She's resting on her satin sheets right now. She slides around on them, something chronic, but
Something chronicle, I think it's the expression.
well, anyway.
Oh, you're
she's
so funny.
She enjoys life. Put it that way.
Oh, she
Peter.
does.
And I think we all should.
And you bring her a mint julep at night before bed.
Yes.
And then there's the tea ritual.
It's a house of customs.
It is, really. And pyjamas at 30 paces, by the way,
Yes,
Philip,
but
I believe.
have you been lucky enough to be invited to the mansion? Because
no.
I tell you what happens at 6 when you arrive at the door. There's a butler there, and downstairs, underneath the spiral staircase, this butler in full regalia like Downton Abbey, he is serving on a silver platter Vegemite sandwiches.
How delightful.
Yes.
And then he
Joanna's
slides in-
famous for them, by the way.
Oh, that's wonderful. He slides in behind the piano and gives us a couple of Noel Coward ditties.
No, that's my role.
Oh, sorry.
But I usually make a grand entrance at the top of the stairs.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone's ever... Have you ever seen Andrew driving? He is so wonderful. Andrew drives a car, or used to drive a car at least, that is longer than 3 city blocks. It was so incredibly stylish. And Andrew used to arrive at a station we both worked at. And he would just sweep into the car park and everybody would stand back because you'd think, I don't know how he's going to manoeuvre that great clomper of a thing.
Oh, he needs 3 parking metres over. He needs a lot of coins.
That was back at in Richmond, at Channel 9.
Richmond.
And I was so envious, though, because with that car, the petrol bill was so enormous, and there were only a few who had access to the petrol pump.
Yes,
that
which
stood
we
just
had
inside.
there.
Remember?
Yes.
That stood just inside the entrance
absolutely.
into the car park. And I would see Brian Naylor and I would see Bert Newton just having some little key operation.
that's
they
right.
could
Just
unlock
top it up.
the nozzle, and they would fill up. And I used to drive by, my mouth watering, and I thought. It was all very well having this boat to drive in and impressing everyone, but the cost was bankrupting me.
That is so funny.
But a good image, you know.
It's a very good image.
Particularly if you're between jobs.
I remember one of our executives at the time had a car that accidentally got stuck in reverse with the door open.
What?
And it was going backwards in circles round in front of that petrol pump.
Really?
And after about 20 minutes, somebody had the courage to take a flying leap at it and jump in and switch it off.
That'd be like Mr. Bean, wouldn't it? Like
was the
Mr. Bean going around the roundabout.
Funniest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Well, someone didn't do a lot of damage because there were prop bays and everything around there, weren't there?
Didn't do any damage at all, but it was the funniest thing I've ever
I'd
seen.
love to see it. What a pity YouTube wasn't around in those days.
Absolutely.
And the camera, everyone would be photographing it now, wouldn't they?
Oh, hilarious. Good to see you both, by the
Someone
way.
we know, won't mention his name because it's a bit disparaging, but somebody very important in the city who drives a Rolls Royce
Wow.
and is getting on in years, was seen recently pulling up at a petrol bowser and filling up his car with the engine still running.
Ooh,
How
that's no
dangerous
good.
is
That is
that?
supposed to be quite
Obviously,
dangerous.
you know, he had a bit of a mental block or something about it, but it was quite scary. The reason they know the motor was running, they could hear it purring, and also one of his blinkers was flashing as well. So that's a bit dangerous, isn't it?
I'm not
To
recommending
top up
We're
with
both
the
guessing who that
engine running.
might be, actually, Andrew.
Yes,
I'll tell
my mind's
you.
racing.
I'll tell you in the commercial
Oh, no,
break.
you mustn't do that. We exclude the audience if we do
I
that.
can't even give you initials, so
Oh, no, don't do
I
that.
dare not.
No, better not.
No.
Can I
Yes.
talk briefly about names, gentlemen?
yes.
Now, your name, just by being Peter.
Yes.
I know that I've never
I'm
met
about
you before.
70 years old.
No, not 70. You could be. You still could be about 40 or 50, but
no.
you could not be 10. No, I don't think Peter is used at all for
I don't
boys'
think
names.
I don't think there's been a Peter in the past 30 years.
No.
has there?
Now, what brought this to mind is Barry Humphries has surprisingly turned up in town for the Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful.
And to judge some competitions.
is he
And
going
they-
to be doing a... Sorry to interrupt. Is doing a stand-up?
No, he's
what
just
a
doing some
pity.
judging, I believe. But he, I think it was surprised most people that he turned up. But he gives out the Barry Award, named in his honour, to a comedian he considers has some real merit, a young comedian. And he made a joke about the name Barry. There have been no Barrys born for 70 years, I swear.
I would think you're
60 to 70
absolutely
years,
right.
don't you?
And hates his name, he says.
Does he?
He hates the name Barry.
But I don't quite understand why. Well, it's too late to change now. But to my knowledge, officially his name is John Barry Humphries. He was born John Barry
So
Humphries.
he could be John.
He could be John.
Like the film composer, John Barry.
John Barry.
Yeah, so true. But I just thought it'd be interesting for people want to call if they have names that are out of their time. Maybe someone is a Barry and or knows a Barry who's 10 years of age.
Is there a
Because you
Cecil
can almost
listening?
and will Edna ever come back?
I wonder.
don't think so.
Or Bertha.
Perfect.
Well, I
yes.
have. Peter knows I have a lovely friend, Edna.
Yes.
But she's
Oh,
not
she's
young these
lovely.
days.
That's right. I
Yes.
don't think there's been an Edna born in Australia for probably 60 years.
No, what about a Gladys?
No,
True,
no Gladys.
But
Now
who'd have
Glad-Eye
thought-
anymore.
But when I went to school, there were no Georges, and yet kids little boys have been
Yes,
born
George
Georges.
is smart.
It's come
Yes.
back.
Oh, now because
When-
of Royal George. of
When
course.
did you last meet an Ethel?
That's right, and Ethel, yes.
Yeah.
Ethel and Bertha are
Names
probably
come and go.
names we won't hear
and
so
I wonder
much
if
of.
is there many. I don't think there have been many young Phillips around. I've got to say these
No,
days,
perhaps
Phil.
not. What about Cyril? No.
Cyril
Cyril,
or
no.
Cecil, not so
No,
much.
no, they're out of fashion, aren't they?
But I'd just love to get some stories of people who have perhaps got a name that's out of
Yes.
sort of its era.
Yes, so what about
and
Ivor?
why?
Ivor or Noel Coward.
By the way, on
Do you
one
think of smoking jackets and fezzes when you see this man?
And pithy little bon mots and a coffee.
he doesn't need to work. He's self-made. We know that.
Oh,
you
yes.
know.
Actually, that's true. I'm sure that is true.
Behind his back, they call him Mr. Powerball.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you have a Powerball?
We think you're loaded.
The word
I know
ball
you
was in there, but the other part's not right.
You inherited rather a large amount of dough as well, as I understand. How else could you run those huge cars around Melbourne?
Great difficulty, and that's why I don't anymore.
I heard he put in an offer for 3AW 6 years ago. Oh, yes.
Heavens above.
Oh, yes. He's rolling in
Wouldn't
it.
that be quite good fun?
Wouldn't that be fun?
Have your own radio station.
Would you make any changes?
Quite a few things. As my eyes narrow across the...
Philip, you live dangerously, don't you?
I tell you my favourite Barry Humphrey story. It goes back to the 70s, where I was in Sydney a lot doing television, and was invited to lunch by Barry Humphries and Philip Adams.
You're kidding.
And can you imagine, just the three of us. And I
Are you serious?
I absolutely didn't get a word in because I was just entranced by their conversation, you know, just sitting there listening to them both bouncing off each other. It was a very stimulating lunch because normally when we go out to lunch with our colleagues, they talk about the ratings, don't they?
Yes.
Talk about themselves, you know, so boring, you know.
That's true.
But it was so stimulating to be in their company.
It's funny, Darren James was telling me today about how he once, at 3AW, between shows, he and Booze Mansfield and also Noel Ferrier sat in the foyer of the old La Trobe Street building, and he said they chatted for about an hour doing impressions and telling stories and being witty. He said it was the most wonderful experience. Sadly not broadcast, but just one of those wonderful things that happen sometimes.
I know, I can slightly beat that. Well, not beat it, but I just came in at the very end of it. You remember the foyer, the studio foyer at La Trobe Street?
Of course.
Yeah, and
That cobbled
when I came in,
courtyard.
With the Muzak tapes rolling around.
That's right, in the one corner.
foyer.
That's right. When I came in, they had just finished, or just about to be interviewed. I'm not sure, but they were singing with the guitar two of the Mills Brothers. And they were doing, I'll say it was Lazy River. It was one of their big hits, or Glowworm, or one of those things. And as I walked up those steps, I thought, oh my goodness, there's two of the Mills. They're about to be interviewed by Mary Hardy and Jeff Mannion. And it was just wonderful. I stood there and thought, wow, that's it.
And do you remember Mary Hardy and Darren James' dad, Peter James,
that's right,
working together as well?
That's right.
In
And
the
when
afternoons.
Peter left to go to 3UZ, Jeff Mannion took over.
That's right, and Peter worked with ugly Dave Gray then on 3UZ.
That's right, he did for some years.
And in fact, Dave didn't come down to Melbourne. Dave lived on the Gold Coast.
Oh, was that done?
And he recorded all his gags on cartridges. Oh, yeah, he wasn't in Melbourne.
And it wasn't even live.
No, well, Peter was live,
But
Peter
it was
would
all
feed the lines,
just
and
press the
they'd
button
play
and
the
out.
cartridge, with the
good
gag.
Jeepers.
That's how it worked. Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know that it'll work these days.
Hey, can I prove we're really here
sorry,
tonight?
it
It's
is
29
late.
past 10.
Thank
we
you very
really
much.
are here.
It's lovely
Oh,
talking
no,
to you
no,
both.
go.
Oh, no, I mustn't hold you up because you've got a lot of callers. I know that the board is full.
Are you going back to do news breaks?
Logie Award-deserving news breaks. Here we come. So I'll see you both later on. Have a great night.
P.S. I have to say how wonderful it was to see Marmalade at the end of the news tonight.
Marmalade.
Tell Andrew.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, well, look, we had a cat. There was a cat, not like, you remember Marmalade,
Yes,
who used to live
yeah.
at Channel 9 and 3A, that other
Eric
station.
Pearce used to look after it.
Yes, Eric Pearce looked after it, and we all did in the newsroom because it was a 7 days a week job for Marmy. Let me tell you briefly about Marmy. This was a cat that had the run of this whole building, the Channel 9 complex and 3AK. Marmalade knew where the work was happening because it was a 24-hour operation. So during the day, Marmy would be on the ground floor maybe, and then at times there wasn't anyone in the building except on the first floor. So Marmalade would go to the lift and jump into the lift and wait for people to take him to the floor he wanted to go to. If you and Marmalade got into the lift and you pressed the floor to the pressed the button to the second floor, the newsroom, and he didn't want to go there, he would wait inside until you pressed the button for the first floor, and then he'd go down there.
Really?
He was just a most wonderful cat, and you know, he just made his way around the building and was much loved by everybody. Very smart cat, and Eric and the newsroom really tamed him because he was a wild pussycat to start with. He was just a little stray, and then he became this great big, almost a mascot. So.
And the reason I mentioned him, there was a story from Russia tonight with a cat very reminiscent of Marmalade.
Just looked like Marmy, and this cat was at a museum in Moscow or south of Moscow, and the staff loved him, and so they pretended that he'd been put on staff, and all the local media believed it, and so he is now on staff. This cat, and he's working 9 to 5 and getting lovely conditions and having a great time. And look at him, and you think, oh, it's Marmalade.
Wonderful.
Isn't that a great story? So, good night. Have a lovely night.
Thank you, Peter.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bless you, Peter.
Bye.
Peter Hitchener, National 9 News. And Andrew, we'll come back with Merrill, Ryan, Malcolm, Chris, another Chris, Stephen, and your calls after this.
Advocacy is advocacy. Oh, stop it. Advocacy Australia, or log on to vendor advocacy.
No, it's not. No, have another try.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
No.
Your face is your gleeful.
No, I have words I can't say.
Or log on to vendor advocacy.com.au.
Oh, he's getting 2 minutes. Tell you 3 or 4 words I have trouble with. Phenomenon is one.
Oh, yes.
Patented is another.
Oh, patented, yes.
And anything with an L in it, like Lily Dale.
You got a bit slurry there.
Lillian.
Advocacy. I'm going to go home haunted by that. Advocacy.
No, you did very well.
I should have separated the syllables up a bit.
It's already 24 to 11. Hello, Merrill in the Basin.
Hi, Merrill.
Hi, Phil and Andrew, and also Simon out there in listener land.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you an update on my husband, Clive.
What's happening with him? I believe he hasn't been too well.
He hasn't been well. He's been in hospital 4 months, but now he's finally home, and he's much better than he's been. And I've had so many lovely people coming into the shop asking how Mr. Rainy Day is, and we expect him back at work a little bit down the track. But
He must be so happy to be home.
Oh, he's thrilled to bits. He had so many operations, and lung cancer is one of those things that's a bit hard to toss. But he's greatly improved, and he's very mobile and
Good to hear.
full of fun.
I imagine he was given a bad time when the Clint Eastwood movie came out, Every Which Way But Loose.
Yes,
Because I think the ape was also Clyde, wasn't he?
yes. He did have a long time of getting called that, but he's thrilled to be back home now. And of course, we have a puppy too, like yours. She was 1 last week, and she is in heaven that her favourite person in the world is back with her again.
And so are you, Merrill. And if you want to see recent pictures of Oro and his great-grandma Alice, Simon's put them on our Nightline Facebook, all right?
Lovely.
In fact, it's such a good picture of them both. It looks like a painting. I think you'll enjoy it. And give our very best to Clyde for the future.
Thank you.
All the best, Merrill, yes. Ryan's in Knoxfield. Hello, Ryan. Thanks for holding on.
Okay, boys, how's it going?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I was used to talking about old names.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a son, he's 6 months old. I just named him Walter.
Wow. Now, that is an old-fashioned name. Any particular reason, Ryan?
Yeah, it's my grandfather's name, so I sort of passed it on to him.
Good to hear. You might start a whole new trend, and there could be lots of little Walters.
Hopefully, it'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. The people make their own name, I guess.
So I guess he's going to be, by the time he gets to school and that, and how old is he now?
He's 6 months old now.
Oh, he's just a baby. But I mean, I'm thinking he's at school in, say, 10 years from now. He could end up as a Wall or a Wally, you don't know. Just interesting to see. Maybe it'll always just be a Walter.
Or even a Walt like Walt, isn't he? You know?
A Walt, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think it's a great name. I congratulate you for it, Ryan. Don't you reckon, Phil?
Yeah, well, I'd like to know your surname so I know if it's got a ring to it, Ryan.
Kenyon.
Oh, Walt Kenyon. Oh, that sounds terrific. I can see that up in lights.
Yeah, I'm going to be pushing Wally, though, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing wrong with Wally either.
All right, thanks, mate.
All the best to you. It is 20 to 11. This is Nightline. Andrew McLaren filling in for Simon Owens. And we'd love your calls, of course. And that number, Phil, is 96900 693. What words can't you say has now been suggested as a topic. Yeah. Thank you, Bianca. And we've just heard one of Andrew's. Maybe you've got one that you really struggle with. Another one I know many people mispronounce. They say vulnerable. It's vulnerable.
Yes.
There's an L in front of the N. And I hear it time and time again. I hear it read in the news on 3AW.
Yes, it happens.
Someone being in a vulnerable position. No, it's in a vulnerable position.
Yes, and I hear people say something is incomparable when it should be incomparable.
Yes.
Incomparable. Yeah.
Anyway, what words do you really have trouble with? Phil and I have outed ourselves. You should do it. 96900 693. We're taking a break here, Phil?
Yeah, and then we'll come back and talk to you, Malcolm and Chris, another Chris and Steve.
3AW is Melbourne.
It's got to be as Australian as.
We love football, meat pies, kangaroos and...
Like your cards.
And I only hope it doesn't define his time as Prime Minister. What he has done that was stupid is treat us as being stupid.
Your town, your station. 3AW 693.
The great thing about my job is you. I love talking to callers and getting emails. It's provocative, it's unpredictable. That's why we've created MVP, Neil's Valuable Player. You add to the program, you can pick up the gong and my gratitude.
The MVP of the week will experience the luxury of a Mercedes-Benz for the entire weekend, courtesy of 3 Point Motors. And if you're crowned the champion at the end of the MVP season, you'll be awarded with $40,000 thanks to 3AW, Neil's Valuable Player Award. Weekday mornings from 8:30 on 3AW 693.
My granddaughter Lucy was doing a history project at school, so she came to me to ask all about our family tree. There's only me left now, so with the helpful consultants at Cameo Memorials, I'm planning ahead so that Lucy's children and grandchildren will have a real sense of their past and their family tree. I'm making sure they'll know exactly where to find me.
Keep the memory alive. Let Cameo Memorials set your life in stone. CameoMemorials.com.au.
Ireland's most popular duo, Foster and Allen, are returning to Australia.
They say we have outlived.
And Andy Chris Gillette is at the Herald Sun. I imagine, Chris, can be very sad reading on page 1 of tomorrow's paper.
The mum of a toddler has been charged with murdering her little girl, whose body was found in a creek on Sunday. The woman, who's 22, told police that as she walked through a park, an African man had snatched her baby and run off. But tonight, police told a court hearing that the woman had made a full confession to murder. This is a terrible story where a lot more information is still coming to light, but one that has definitely kind of created quite a shock through Victorians. It's just terrible.
Well, it has shattered everybody, of course.
Absolutely. Moving on, another good story in tomorrow's paper. Medical cannabis has been made legal in Victoria and will be grown and supplied to patients as early as 2017. So that means children suffering severe epilepsy will be among the first to be treated using a range of non-smokable marijuana products.
Yeah, I think that's happening in other parts of the world already.
Absolutely. Canada, America. So Victorian patients and their families will be legally able to access the drug in what's known as exceptional circumstance.
Yes, okay. Have you got another story for us?
Yeah, this one's quirky. A Melbourne man is in a pickle. He's racked up more than $30,000 in speeding fines in just 2 weeks. The only problem is the bright pink car involved isn't his. He had some number plates registered to his company. He sold them off 8 years ago. And all of a sudden now he rocks up to his letterbox and each day he's getting more and more fines. So he's in a fight with Civic Compliance Victoria.
Of course.
You'd hate to be in that fight.
Yeah, well, beware if you sell your plates, yeah. All right, and of course you've got the TV lift out tomorrow, haven't you?
That's it. It's called Twitched On.
Okay, Chris, say hello to Andrew McLaren.
Yes, I've hardly spoken. In fact, I haven't spoken to you. Hello, Chris. And perhaps I'll speak in another night. I'm filling in for Simon Owens tonight.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
All the best, yes. And we'll speak again, as we say, soon. It's 11:15. This is Nightline 3AW. Yes, Andrew McLaren filling in for Simon. Malcolm's in Caulfield. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello, how are you?
Terrific.
It's very busy here at Caulfield Station.
You're at the station, are you?
Yes, it's the only way I can hear you because there's so much noise on the outside.
That's
so
right.
I'm in the enclosure area where you buy the tickets.
No, we hear you, okay.
I worked at the Herald Sun in 1980. I backed the Ming Dynasty 50-1 at the time at Caulfield before I left the Herald Sun. Before that, I was at AAP. But I just wanted to mention, last night you mentioned Jill Perryman.
Yes.
And you mentioned
the show was Hello, Dolly.
The stage actor, Sir Robert Helpman.
Yes.
Who I actually saw live at the Melbourne Theatre Company.
All right.
When I was young.
Yes.
And he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, because he was a great ballet dancer too, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, yes. And I sat in the front row, and he looked at me. He beamed directly into my eyes. I can never forget that moment.
Huh.
Like I had direct contact.
Oh, well, yes, eyeball to eyeball, so to speak.
Yeah. I just wanted to just give you my tips on the presidential election.
Yes.
My trifecta is Hillary Clinton, number 1, at $1.45. I got $2. Number 2, Bernie Sanders, and number 3, Donald Trump. That's the trifecta.
Well, of the three, I'm hoping Bernie Sanders might be the victor. All right, Malcolm, always good talking to you. Good night now.
Thanks for that. We've got, this is Heidi coming your way. Hello, Heidi.
Hello, how are you both?
Oh, this will be Heidi, Victoria MP.
Oh, hello, Phil, how are you?
Oh, we're good. Are you aware tomorrow is Queenie's birthday?
I am aware it's Queenie's birthday. It's a big one.
Yes. Have we lost you, Heidi?
Oh.
What a shame. We'll go back to her in a moment, hopefully. Shadow Minister for the Arts.
Chris is in Hastings. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Andrew. How are you?
I'm okay. Good to hear your voice, Chris.
Yeah, good to hear you two going all right. And hello, Philip.
Yes.
Thanks for your correspondence, mate.
Very similar to something I sent you once before, Chris.
Yeah, my mum's going to write you a little letter. Anyway.
Oh, she doesn't need it. In the Melbourne Observer, there was a page of Hastings pictures from 100 years ago.
Oh.
Chris living there, I thought he'd enjoy them, you know?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Phil.
Right.
And I was just watching Mr. Deeds go to town with Gary Cooper. You know that? Yeah, Mum met him. She said he's very tall, taller than when you get up close to him, you know?
Chris's mum, June, was a famous opera singer in Australia.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Did Gary Cooper come to Australia, did he, Chris?
I think it was in England, actually.
Oh, that would make more sense.
Ivan Novello was and South Pacific with Sean Connery. But Ivan Novello, she talks about fondly, I think.
Was your mother June Phillips, was she?
Yeah, she was, Phil.
Yes, people remember her with great affection.
Yeah.
Are you a singer, Chris?
Yeah, I think when somebody loves you, it's no good unless she loves you all the way. How's that?
Oh,
it's a start.
Bernard will be jealous of you, I'm sure. Not to mention Sahara in Sydney. Thanks, Chris, and best to Mum.
Now, Heidi Victoria joins us again, Shadow Minister for the Arts. Hello, Heidi.
Hello, I'm so sorry. Obviously a dodgy bit on the freeway. And speaking of opera, I've just come from the most wonderful evening of Lucia de Lammermoor, which is being held at Her Majesty's, being put on by Victorian Opera. And, it was stunning, absolutely stunning. So if you do like opera, wow, what a treat that one is.
And, of course, that's where Joan Sutherland made her name originally.
Absolutely. All of the greats have sung in there. Melba sang in there as well, and it's a great theatre.
Who was the principal singer tonight?
Oh, now you're going to get me, aren't you?
Oh,
and I haven't got my glasses on to read, but look, she's the most adorable girl. She's only fairly young, and her coloratura is just delightful. So, yeah, if people haven't been to the opera before, this is a great... Look, it's opera, somebody dies, you know. That's what happens.
I think a lot of people get put off by the price of opera in the past. I don't know about today, but the ticket prices were always way above what a normal musical evening at the theatre would be. You know, something on, like Annie Get Your Gun at the Princess would be. I don't know if that's still the same.
No, Andrew. In fact, a lot of companies have now made it far more affordable. So last weekend I actually went and saw something that City Opera put on. And that was at the Hawthorn Town Hall. Their prices are not expensive at all.
Oh, good to hear.
And then you can get, obviously A, B and C reserve. And, you can take, the family, if you want to introduce the kids to it or whatever. I think some of the companies do tickets for $50 or $60. Now, that's not that's not something you would do every day.
Oh, and listen, Heidi, Jeannie Pratt does it even better than that, the production company. I think her prices are under $40 often.
And speaking of Pratt, by the way, apparently thank you, Bianca, it's Jessica Pratt who has the lead soprano in Lucia de Lammermoor.
Yes, and I should have known that. Actually, Jean was there tonight.
Yes.
And you're right, what she does with the production company, and every year I go along to the launch to see what's going to happen. And, of course, one of the things she's doing this year is that wonderful production that was co-written by 3AW's own John Michael House and Dusty.
Oh, yes.
And I can't wait to see that. I saw that when it first came out, and it's such a good story.
Yeah. Heidi, it's always good talking to you. I think you should be a performer yourself with those with those looks and that confidence, that personality. You should be up on stage yourself. I can see you.
Gorgeous. We use question time for that reason.
I can see you playing the lead in Hello Dolly. We have to go, Heidi. Great talking to you.
See you guys. Good night.
It's 5 to 11 on Nightline. Chris Broadmeadows, I'm still saying good morning. Good evening to you, Chris. Have to push it a bit to fit in before passing parade. What's on your mind?
I think this legalising medicinal marijuana is not offsetting a deterrent for marijuana smokers and dealers, because no longer are they going to jail. We need to put in place consequential thinking and deterrence away from the habits with drugs and alcohol, like drinking grog on the sly. You know, if people had a choice like I did in 1983 to either 2 years jail or 2 years bonded to somewhere like Odyssey House, we would clean the streets up of Melbourne, and drugs, if I may finish, leads to violence. And I'm too scared to go to a Friday or Saturday night football game at the MCG to see the Tigers, because it's just too dangerous going through that city hub. Yeah.
Okay, Phil.
You might be right. If you plan to go, Chris, why not go with a mate? Because I think there's safety in numbers, you know.
Well, I suppose so, but you shouldn't have to feel like that, should you?
No, not in a town like
Chris
Melbourne.
does raise a valid point there. It is getting a crazy world out there, especially with this ice, too.
Hello again. This is John Doremus with a passing parade of the story of the immortal Russian author Anton Chekhov. Perhaps the greatest tribute to Anton Chekhov's impeccable literary technique is the fact that hundreds of writers have striven to imitate it. But certainly the most remarkable thing about the man himself were the obstacles he overcame to create his masterpieces, including an exhausting illness that finally killed him. I'll be back to tell you more after. Anton Chekhov was of peasant stock. His grandfather was a serf in central Russia, and his father had a small grocery business in Taganrog. Born in 1860 into an age of great political reforms, Chekhov began writing in the 1880s, by which time a period of reaction and gloom had settled in. He studied medicine and in 1884 graduated from the University of Moscow. Instead of going into practice, however, he concentrated on his writing and turned out a number of short stories, some of which were published in a book entitled Party-Colored Tales. The book was a great success and led to the writing of his first play, Ivanov, in 1887. The following year, he won the Pushkin Short Story Prize. Far from going to his head, Chekhov's success did quite the opposite. It left him disillusioned and dissatisfied. Convinced he had wasted his time on works that would swiftly be forgotten, he looked around for a more worthy occupation. Already his health was beginning to fail, and the first ominous signs of consumption had appeared. In 1890, he traveled to the convict island of Sakhalin, north of Japan, off the boundary of Russia and Mongolia. In this bleak, inhospitable place, Chekhov turned doctor and observer. The condition of the convicts appalled him, and he wrote a report which, when he returned to Moscow the following year, was studied by the authorities and resulted in a considerable reform of the prison system. In 1893, he bought a farm out of Moscow, and during the cholera epidemic that followed, was appointed honorary medical superintendent of his district. By 1895, although only in his 36th year, Anton Chekhov already looked middle-aged. It was during this period of his life that he wrote some of his greatest short stories, stories of tenderness and pathos, studies of broken lives. He also wrote the first of his great plays, The Seagull. While at lunch at a Moscow restaurant one day, he suffered a sudden and violent hemorrhage. After a period in a hospital, his doctor packed him off to the south of France for a long holiday. In 1898, his father died, and he returned to Russia and settled in the Crimea with his mother, sister, and younger brother. His health continued to deteriorate, but he worked on and gave birth to his best-remembered dramatic masterpieces, Uncle Vanya in 1899, and The Three Sisters in 1901, and The Cherry Orchard in 1903. The last of these was written in abject misery and pain. When it was produced in Moscow in January of 1904, the author was too ill to attend. The following June, he was sent to the Black Forest in Germany, where it was hoped that the pinewood air might allay his disease. But it was hopeless. And after being there only a month, Anton Chekhov died. Our time is up till we meet again for another chapter in the Passing Parade. This is John Doremus, and goodbye for now.
Andrew, we're off to the Bureau, and good evening to Rod Dixon.
Hello, Rod.
Good evening.
And what's for us tomorrow?
Yeah, look, tomorrow, well, at the moment we've got some showers heading up mainly over western suburbs at the moment, and over the western side of the bay in Geelong area. Pretty light totals out of those, less than a millimetre or so. But I think the early part of tomorrow morning we'll still see some shower activity over western suburbs during the morning. But that should clear up fairly quickly by around lunchtime. And then it should be a mostly sunny afternoon with generally light southeasterly winds. Down to 12 degrees in the city tonight, around 10 or 11 in most suburbs, and then up to 20 degrees expected tomorrow, 19 in Frankston and 19 for Geelong.
I've got to ask, Rod, at this point, and I think I speak for lots, when are we going to see, are there anything on the horizon of some really significant rainfall for Melbourne?
No, unfortunately there isn't. We did have that good rain last week briefly, which brought 25 to 30 millimetres over eastern suburbs, but that's been the only real significant rain we've seen in the past month or so. And it doesn't look, the prospects don't look too good for another good dump of rain in the outlook period either. We've got a couple of warm days coming up Thursday and Friday with temperatures in the mid-20s and mostly sunny conditions. Then it looks like we'll get a change through on Saturday, but that's only going to bring some showers with it, so probably only a couple of millimetres expected with that on the Saturday. And then still the medium chances of showers around on the Sunday as well, with temperatures expected at 19 on Saturday, 17 on Sunday, so a cooler weekend with a shower or two around, most likely on the Saturday, I'd say.
Okay, thanks, Rod. This afternoon was quite pleasant, wasn't it?
It sure was, and there'll be some warmer conditions to come later this week.
All right, talk to you again tomorrow night. Thanks, Rod, at the Bureau. Now, we've got three topics going. Glad to have Andrew McLaren here. Bruce is still recovering from his illness. Simon's on the eve of jury duty, as you know, and, he might... Would he be allowed to phone in if he's in the middle of a murder trial?
Well, they usually don't run till this time of night, but I don't think so.
Oh, don't they? I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, maybe so. Have you ever been called up for jury duty?
Yeah, but I think they'd confiscate your mobile phone, don't you?
I have a feeling.
Yes, I was called up very early on when I was doing television regularly, and thankfully they decided, because I had a familiar face, that I wasn't required and would never be asked again. What about yourself?
I've been called up twice, yes, for jury duty.
Were they interesting cases?
Well, no, I found there was an interesting pattern to potentially serving on a jury, and that is, if you stand up, because before you're selected for jury duty, you've got to stand up before the defence counsel.
Yes.
And state your, no, not your name, but just your, I think, your age and your occupation.
Oh, okay.
And even if you're retired, you can't say retired, you have to say retired, what you retired from.
Okay.
And the moment you stand up and you state a white-collar occupation, you're nearly always challenged by the defence counsel.
Really?
And if you are unemployed, if you are a labourer, a forklift driver, something like that, you've got a much better chance of serving on a jury.
Hang on, there are some clues for you, Simon. Do you want to serve or not? You can make your choice. Okay, now it's your turn. We've got three topics running. They're all lightweight. I mean, it's not Drive with Tom Elliott, but one is words you find hard to pronounce. We had a bit of fun with that earlier, both of us. We also talked about old-fashioned Christian names that just don't appear anymore.
And maybe you're trying to bring one back. Maybe there's somebody in your family who's decided to call the little baby Edna, or to call it Horace, or a name like that.
Why not? My mother wanted me christened Louis Philippe, and because she had a lot of French blood in her, and my father said no over his dead body. So thankfully that didn't happen.
I think she had to get through school in the 1950s, which she would have had to do as Louis Brady.
And how would you feel that? Nightline with Andrew McLaren and Louis Philippe Brady.
I don't think so.
It's a bit highfalutin, isn't it? And the third topic was because of business going on in Geelong at the moment. If you could be mayor or mayoress of any city in the world, which one would you choose and why?
Yes. Give us a call, please. And that number is 96900 693, 96900 693. And also, I should say at this point, welcome to those listening to us through 3AW Wangaratta and 2QN into Niliquin. Yeah. Always welcome along. Stephen, I should say, at Greenvale. Hello, Stephen.
G'day, guys. I've been exempt from jury for life.
How come?
Why?
I told them that I was abducted by aliens, Phil.
Oh, you didn't, did you? Did you really? Did they believe you?
They asked me what my occupation was. This is when I was about 19. I was such an idiot. They said, what's your occupation? I said, I'm a ufologist. And I was abducted by aliens, and I was challenged within 3 minutes.
Oh, that's your... Are you on a hands-free tonight? You're a bit hollow, a bit bassy.
No, sorry, I'm on my mobile. I haven't got a hand.
That's all right. We can hear you.
Your opening question, Phil, you should have changed it and phrased it to which council would you like sacked. I think you'd get a lot more calls.
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve, yeah. I wonder, I've always wondered, do we need this third level of government at all, this local government?
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
I think, well, actually, even though I just said that, I think they should be retained and get rid of the state. I think they're the more wasteful. But, you know, when they were describing it in the paper, you know how they were saying they're bullying, they're incompetent, they're harassing, they're this. I thought they were describing the state government. I wasn't really sure who they were talking about. But, yeah, please, I could give you 2 councils I'd like to get rid of, the Hume City Council and Moreland Council. I think they're the most wasteful councils. And I don't even live in Moreland, Andrew. Moreland comes up every month. They're always opening some art exhibition or art centre or putting structures on the street and people have to pay for it. And, you know, it seems to be in the news all the time, Moreland Council. And when Neil Mitchell tries to talk to someone from Moreland Council, he can't get anywhere with them.
I believe that's true, yes. Why Hume? Do you have actual examples of why you think Hume is wasteful?
I live in the city of Hume, and they're also one of the councils that applied to that increase, even though the rates have been fixed. Initially, they used to take a lot of junkets. I knew some of the councillors. I knew one councillor in particular who was a friend of mine, and no names mentioned. They just took junkets. They just went all over the place, and we were really angry about that because we couldn't even get basic services.
We have a guy called Rod of Diamond Creek, I think, always complaining about potholes in Nillumbik.
Yeah, I've heard him. Yeah. Look, he's right on the money, I swear. I know he sounds like he whinges a lot, but a lot of the things that he raises is fair income. If they just stuck to the 3 things that we need, you know, roads, footpaths, and just garbage, I think a lot of us would be happy.
I agree completely.
Look, I'll give you an example. My parents have a property up at Mitchellshire, somewhere up there, Pylong. And there's nothing on it. It's just a few acres, and they've got a little tiny house and a veggie patch. You know, here in Greenvale, we pay something like, I don't know, $2,200 in rates, right? And it's a nice area. There's a lot of big houses, tennis courts, you know what I mean? They've got a little property at Mitchellshire, and it's only a few acres. It's just, you know, like I said. And you know how much they pay in rates?
How much?
$2,700.
What?
$2,700.
Outrageous, yeah.
I know, and when I wrote them, the council, I said, how do you justify this? I was just curious. They said, we do all these things in the city, you know, and I said, yeah, but how does it affect my parents? They don't go anywhere near the city. They just go to their property every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why.
It is irritating, isn't it?
Hey, you'll love this, Steve. You might have heard me say a couple of months ago, I got fined $91 a parking fine in the Boroondara Shire, and I deserved it. I was parked where I shouldn't be, and so I had to cop it sweet. But often I compare things for Boroondara Council for free, you know, like charity work or something. But I figured next time they engage me, I'll say, yes, I'll do the job for you for $91, and that way I'll get my parking fine back. Do you like that?
Do you know how you can get out of paying that fine, Phil?
Tell me.
Just write a letter and say it wasn't me in the car, I was abducted by aliens.
Oh, good one, Steve. Oh, that's fun. I'll do that.
We'll use the Steve story. Now, Steve, we have to go. You want to get back to Uranus anyway. You've got to move, so we'll leave it there. 96900 693 is the number. It is 11:15. Andrew McLaren filling in for Simon Owens on Nightline.
Leave our microphones on during the commercial breaks. It'll be good for the ratings.
And bad for employment for you.
All the stories we have to share.
Yes. Anne's in Burwood. Thanks for holding on, Anne. Good to speak to you.
Oh, good evening, Louis Philippe and Andrew.
Hello, Anne.
Oh, Andrew, not filling in, bringing a touch of class to the airwaves.
Yes.
A touch of class, absolutely. I think there should be a little sort of Noel Coward theme. I know the theme that they play when you come on, but maybe a little Ivan Novello or Noel Coward during your time. Just ignore the plebs, Andrew.
I do. I try and rise above them. The trouble is, there are so many here at this station.
Absolutely, but just try and sort of put yourself together.
And they multiply. They're like rabbits in the night. They breed.
Of course, surrounded. But, Philip, you mentioned difficult words now. 2 words for you, Philip. Soliloquy would be excellent, and parallelogram.
Can I have a go at both? Okay, soliloquy, how's that?
Not bad.
And
not bad.
Parallelogram, how's that?
I think that's really
because I did algebra at school, so I'm familiar with that, or geometry or whatever.
Well, geometry's easier to say. Stick with geometry.
Okay.
But the names that you mentioned that have gone now, we don't hear. They talk about all the old names being brought back, especially for little girls. But you'll note there's the pretty ones like Charlotte and Emily and Rosie, names like that.
Yes.
But you don't really hear any Merle or Myrtle or Edna, as you said, or even Eileen. But
Eileen.
Now.
Yes. How long since a little baby's been named Eileen, eh?
But you know, some years ago, well, not that long ago, but going along Toorak Road, going towards the city, as you went under the Hartwell Bridge, there was a sign that intrigued me. It used to make my heart leap a little. It was such a romantic sign. Somebody had printed on that bridge in very good printing, which made me think it was someone in the business or perhaps a teacher or something. But it was, "Farewell, Eileen. I will always love and miss you." And there was a heart. And I used to wonder who Eileen was. Nobody ever knew. The sign's all been painted over now. There's no romance in some people. However, what intrigued me, it would have to be a youngish person to get up there in the first place and paint the sign. Eileen, then, one would imagine, would be fairly young.
I might have been his mother or his grandmother.
"Farewell, I will always love and miss you."
Yeah, you'd feel that way about your mother. How long since you've met a Darlene or a Charlene?
Yes, Darlene. I do know a Darlene who would be around 60.
Yes.
So yes, I have not long. Charlene, I think, has come back a bit, Philip. No Dorothy's though.
But will we ever live long enough to see the return of Raylene or Shirlene? Anne, I ask you.
I do hope not.
Hey, Anne-Leen, we've got something for you from Warner Brothers Music.
What have we got?
Thanks to Karen. The glory days of Aussie pub rock. 4 CDs.
Right up your alley.
4 CDs with songs from the 70s, 80s and beyond.
Philip, that is lovely of you, but I would like someone else to have that, because not long ago I had a pancake.
Oh, that's very honest of you, Anne.
Please give that to someone else. But thanks, and a delight to hear Andrew.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Anne. I thought you would have enjoyed those 4 CDs from your days of supping from the jug at the Burvale. Anyway, thanks for your call. Nice to hear from you. Dear, oh dear. John, no, this is Ruth at South Melbourne. Hello, Ruth.
Hello, boys. How are you?
Hi.
Andrew, you're sounding much better. I'm very pleased to hear.
Oh, that last Sunday, that was a terrible, terrible moment.
You know, and also I want you to look into, there's a very good beekeeper in Gippsland. He's a gentleman called Sticky Stucky.
Oh, no.
And yes, and he has the best honey in the world. It's a Victorian coastal Banksia honey. Now,
where can you get it?
From Sticky Stucky.
Oh, you have to get a Sticky. You have to get it from the man himself, do you?
Yes, and it will cure anything. You know how the New Zealand Manuka honeys are antibacterial and antimicrobial. This is the same thing, but it will do, after you've had your nice little nip of McLaren single malt,
Yes.
you have a teaspoon of sticky stuckies, and your voice will be thoroughly medicated and lubricated.
Can I, well, do you think I'll get back into the yodeling championships that I'm scared I'm going to miss out on this year?
I give up the yodeling, personally.
Oh, really?
But look, in all
I
seriousness...
can't, it's too much a part of me, Ruth.
I know, but look, I think you've got to just not overwork your voice. That's the crucial thing.
But I so love to get on top of Mount Dandenong there at Sassafras.
Well, holidays...
Yodel me little heart out.
Holidays, perhaps. But
All
anyway,
right.
the words I can't say. I can't say incomparable, although I've just said it.
Yes, very well.
I can't say accompaniment. I struggle on that.
No, you
too.
did well. You did okay.
And the names, my mother's name was Gwen.
Oh.
And that's come back because of Gwen Stefani. And I love the biblical names. And if I was mayoress, I'd be mayoress of Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, tell us why. Because of the Olympics, perhaps.
I'm going to Rio, Philip.
Oh, you ring us from there, Ruth, or...
Are you going to wear a little brief bikini at Ipanema?
No, I'm going to be like Bette Davis in Now Voyager, Miss Charlotte Vale from Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Melbourne
I get the picture.
equivalent.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful romance in Rio.
I hope you do, Ruth. We want to hear all about it. Now, you being of Scottish descent,
Oh, yes.
I'm going to a wedding in September in Colombia, South America. But for a gift, I need to buy a kilt. Where would I go to buy a kilt these days?
The Scottish shop in, where is it now? Oh, in Baldwin, Whitehorse Road.
Oh, really? I didn't know about it.
Kew, is it? I'm just being told by...
Kew, that's even better.
Yeah. It's also,
I don't think so. I've lived in Kew all my life.
No, I think it's in Baldwin or maybe...
Okay. Now, but most...
I went there once years ago.
Have you worn a kilt at all in your lifetime?
No, I haven't. Look, Phil, it gets ridiculous. The McLarens have been in Australia since the 1820s. Dad looked it up one time. They go back, not convicts, amazingly, but they actually just came out here as described on the ship's manifest as mechanics.
Okay. Now, the thing is, most kilts you wrap around, around and around. They're about 3 metres long. It's too heavy to fly with. I want to buy a kilt that just goes around once, and then you can get a safety pin and tuck it in. Can I buy a short,
but just why
kilt?
Why do you want to go? Well, you're going to South America for this wedding.
Yeah, a politician friend in government over there.
But why would you want a kilt for the wedding?
If I told you why, we'd lose our licence. But a kilt will be appropriate.
No, I can't leave it there. No, I just need a bit more information. What, is going to be a kinky wedding?
I think not, though, but a kilt will be my gift. Someone might ring and tell me where I can buy a kilt that just wraps around once, not 8 times, all right?
Yeah, you want sort of like a Velcro kilt, don't you?
I guess I do.
Non-traditional.
We'll come back with John, Billy, Ian, James and Marilyn.
It's 11:30, 3AW, and this is Nightline, and Andrew McLaren filling in for Simon Owens for this night.
And Simon filling in for Bruce, of course.
That's right.
I saw Bruce on Friday. He's doing okay.
Oh, that's good. Yes, I meant to ask that. How is Bruce?
Well, he's pain-free. He's still undergoing some treatment, fighting prostate cancer, which everyone is familiar with. He was in very good spirits, needs to put on some weight, needs to grow his hair back a bit, but he was in top form, I'm happy to say.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's some positive news there. John's at Mount Waverley. Hello, John.
Hiya, guys.
Yes, John.
For many years, and I think it's still there, that Scottish shop was in Whitehorse Road. You know the Baldwin Picture Theatre?
Of course.
Yeah, well, it's on the same side of the road as that, and as you head towards town from the theatre, it's down in that dip there.
Okay, I'm thinking I might go to an op shop and buy a really cheap kilt, like Vinnie's or the Salvo's or something, like from a deceased estate, John.
Oh, no, come on.
But I'll have it dry cleaned before I take it to the wedding.
Well, they'll have to be dry cleaned before they go to the op shop, supposedly, anyway. You wouldn't be a kilt wearer, would you, Johnny?
Not lately, no.
No, imagine not. I imagine it's a pretty stupid thing to wear, especially in Australia. They're just too hot for me, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Although I suppose they're like shorts in a way.
Yeah. Anne from Burb was talking about Hartwell. That's a funny little like suburb, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of adjoining Camberwell, isn't it?
Yeah, I grew up in Burwood all my primary school years. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known where Hartwell was.
Yeah.
You know? And
But we've got all those sort of places, haven't we? We've got Patterson and Regent and Dennis and all these places.
Research is a small place.
Yeah.
And I believe...
Terrymuir.
Yeah, I believe the railway station at Hartwell, either that or one very close by, was originally at...
Walhalla.
Walhalla, yes.
Yes, I think you're right, the one at Hartwell, yes.
Yeah.
And apparently, the story I've heard, John, I'm sure we've all heard it, was that the Flinders Street station was originally destined for Bombay. And we got their station and they got ours.
Oh, really?
Back in the days of the British Empire, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the blueprints went to the wrong place.
Yeah. One last thing regarding the English language, something I've heard a few times in recent months. When reporters on TV, radio, etc., talking about an accident, particularly car accident, they describe the person who's injured as being damaged.
Damaged?
Yeah, I've heard it on AW News Report in recent months, and I heard it on the weekend. A fiery was being interviewed after some accident, said the driver had been damaged. That doesn't sound right.
A different lingo. When I was young, you went to the railway station. These days, everyone goes to the train station.
And
So
when
times
I
have
was young, you lived in a street. I lived in Smith Street, St Kilda. Now you live on Smith Street, St Kilda. Have you noticed that?
Very American,
Yes,
isn't it?
over the years, and if you called another man a guy when I was a young man, you would have been thought a bit of a Burke Street Yank and a bit of a punce. Yeah, and now everyone uses it. I use it. Everyone says guy.
Even the girls say to each other, "Come on, guys."
Yeah, that's
girls
right.
say.
It's become
Hey,
very
John,
generic.
the prize hand knocked back from Warner Brothers for the glory days of Aussie pub rock. 4 CDs with songs from the 60s, 70s and beyond. Enjoy it, John.
Thank you muchly.
Okay. Now, putting out a plea to Neil, who runs Vinnie's, which is an op shop in High Street Q. He used to be in retail at George's. Neil, keep an eye out for a good second-hand kilt for me, please.
Any particular tartan you like?
And maybe even a pair of bagpipes to go with it.
But any particular clan? Would you like the Royal Stewart, which is the most colourful one, or do you don't care? Do you
My middle name is Stuart.
Oh, well, in that case,
S-T-U-A-R-T.
if there's Royal Stewart especially, you'd like that.
Will I take to the wedding a bagpipe or a didgeridoo? It's going to be high up in the Andes in
All I ask
Colombia.
is, just please make sure you're wearing underpants if you're going to be in that kilt.
Well, I don't think they do. I understand the tradition is not to wear anything underneath, that if you wear a kilt, you go commando.
Well, let me tell you, many, many years ago, when I first time in Scotland, I was up at Fort William, way up there.
Yeah, near Mallock. And
That's right, right up north.
I know it.
And up there.
Harry Potter country.
Yes, it is too. Lovely, but very rugged, and was really the only... Because I found in Edinburgh, you don't really see men in kilts, but when you get sort of out to, or up further like that, in the north of Scotland, you do. And a couple of times, there were some wind gusts down... coming ahead of me with a guy with a kilt on, and you could sort of see what was available there. You know what I mean? But no, I noticed the guys were wearing undies. The kilt would lift. You would get a quick vision of a pair of BVDs.
Oh, well, that would have been very reassuring for you, who, Andrew at the time, was taking selfies. Hello, Billy at Inverloch.
How you going, Bill?
Good, mate.
Hello,
How you
Billy.
going, Andrew?
Good, thanks, Bill.
I'm not going to talk about what happened in West Heidelberg.
No.
Why don't your newsreaders get things right? It's not called Olympic Park. It's called Olympic Village.
That's true.
Because I used to live in West Heidelberg.
Yeah, it's true. Who called it Olympic Park?
Some people on TV.
Oh, well, they're misinformed.
So there's no actual park there. There's just houses, is there?
There's flats and houses up that way. And in the Olympic Village, there was a lot of trouble up there when I was there.
Yes.
They always used to get police helicopters flying around.
Yeah, it was a rough area.
That's why me and my mum got out of there.
Yeah, how wise you were.
I'm not allowed to go to Jewy things anymore.
Why's that?
Because they call me Billy the Kid, Blinky Bill, and Bugs Bunny.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. How's your mum doing, all right?
Yeah, he's doing really well.
And have you seen any good movies lately?
Yeah, I got one a couple of weeks ago, Martian. You heard about that, Andrew?
Martian, as in outer space.
Hey,
Oh,
about a
yeah.
bloke in Mars.
Oh, yeah, Matt Damon. I haven't watched it yet, but must be very exciting, Billy.
Yeah, it's a real good movie.
Don't tell
and
me...
I bought one the other day
Yeah.
called Lloyd.
Yeah?
What's that about?
Oh, kids cannot watch it.
Okay.
The foul lambie's in it. Whew.
Oh, yeah, well, give that away. Don't let your mum see that. Okay, Billy, have a good night. Thanks for calling, buddy.
Ian in Essendon, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Andrew. Good evening, Philip.
Hello, Ian.
And I'm ringing about council bureaucracy, but after having your whiskey and honey, your voice would be mellifluous.
Oh, good word.
What a word to hear.
Flowing with honey, sweetened as with honey.
Oh, I would be irresistible to women.
Oh, yes, and you turn the heads of some of the men, too.
Funny. Especially those wearing kilts.
Oh, well, yes, exactly. Now, I was listening to, it was Nick McCallum this afternoon, I think was his program, well, no, it was 3AW, and they were talking about a chap at Drungin. He's got a general store at a place called, I think it was Spring Hall, must be a country town.
Yeah.
And he wants to make it more interesting. I think he's going to put a little cafe in there, and he's been doing it up, renovating. Anyway, during his renovations, he's doing some stripping of paint. And he came across a sign, and from the way he described it, it must have been printed on glass, because if it was paper or card, the paint stripper would have taken it off. Anyway, he uncovered this beautiful Camel cigarette sign, and it was built into something or other in the building. And he decided, this is, lovely character for the renovations. Anyway, sometime after that, he gets a call from the council. It's got to come down. We've had a complaint because it's cigarette advertising.
Oh.
And he said he traced it back. Some of the locals there remembered it, and he said, we've gone back probably to about 1947, 46, 47.
Yeah.
Anyway, he telephoned the council. When he spoke to the council, he said, look, it's built in. And she said, no, it's got to come down immediately. We've had a complaint.
Oh.
And so he said, well, look, you've got to give me some time. He said, I want to preserve it. Anyway, he said, I'll have to get someone in that knows what they're doing to take it out. So it must have been built into a door or something.
Oh, yes.
He didn't say. Anyway, he said that in the process of doing that, they'd put a couple of little cracks in it, which has got to be restored now. And, as I think was Nick said, he's not a smoker, he's anti-smoking or whatever. But he said, this is a vintage sign. And I was thinking, if there was from the same period, a Coca-Cola sign, no one would complain. But in those days, Coca-Cola actually had cocaine in it.
It did originally, I believe, yes.
Yes. So that's bureaucracy gone mad.
Unfortunately, it happens more and more. Now, Ian, before you go, I'd love you to have a $50 pancake parlour voucher. The pancake parlour is open 24 hours at High Point, Doncaster and Malvern East, and lovely. So, Ian, please hold the line and we'll make sure that is zipped out to you.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Ian. Good to hear from you. It's 20 to 12. This is Nightline.
How do you do?
So thanks, you've been very helpful. I don't have to spend a fortune on the kilt. We'll wait for one in an op shop, and then I'll take it home, put it through my washing machine.
I wouldn't trust Phil. If you look in the obituaries in the Herald Sun and see someone with a name like McLean or McLeish has died, and call up the widow.
Andy McTavish.
Yes.
All I need is a long safety pin to go with it.
Yes.
And perhaps a pair of Y-fronts or something as well.
Yes. Please, those, I beg, on behalf of all society. James in Moonee Ponds. Hello, James.
Hello, Andrew, and hello, Philip.
Oh, we're having fun tonight.
You are. Look, Philip, you can actually get your own tartan. You've got a tartan. The O'Brady's of Ireland had a tartan.
Do they?
They're from Northern Ireland, and the dress blue tartan of the O'Brady's is wonderful. It's very, very fashionable.
Are you being serious? Because
serious.
Well, no, I've seen the family crest, and originally we were Mac Brady's.
Yes, well, Mac and O are synonymous. They both mean of.
That's right,
Yeah, so they're from the Gaelic and the son of, basically.
I've seen the family crest. It's quite obscene. It's someone sticking a finger up.
At a sun.
With the rising sun behind them, yes.
That's right, yes. Your family comes from Northern Ireland like my family comes from.
Oh, really? Well, I went there a couple of years ago. No wonder I loved it, yeah.
Yeah, O'Reynolds is my family and yours is the O'Brady.
And apparently down in County Cavan, there's a lot of Bradys down there, including Mike Brady, tells me, a publican, and his name is Philip Brady.
That's it. That's where you're from, Philip, originally.
Oh, how good.
what you should do is actually go to Edinburgh to the Tartan weaving mill.
Yes.
It's a shop there, and you just order your tartan from there. You can actually do it online.
Right.
And they'll weave it up for you. They've probably got the O'Brady's in stock.
No, I'm going to be a bit cheap. I'll probably get a few tea towels and sew them together.
Well, you could do that, but remember, you wear the sporran on the outside.
Okay, well, you're in charge of finding me a good second-hand kilt, okay, James? Before September, please.
All right, and if that all fails, I'll get one of those picnic blankets from Kmart and a couple of big safety pins.
Exactly. They've got a tartan pattern on them. Yeah. Of course they have.
And it's got a waterproof inside on it as well.
Yeah, what about all those frilly bits at the end? They'd tickle, wouldn't they?
Well, you can trim them off. No, very good. Thank you,
have to
James.
be careful what you're trimming, yeah.
Well, no, don't wear it whilst trimming. And thank you very much. I'm having posted before we hear the McLaren tartans. Yes, they're a bit murky. And look at them, Phil. Now, they're really not sort of what you'd want, are they? They're not those vibrant tartans that are often featured in when the pipers march in the festivals and all that, are they?
I'd be proud. In fact, one of the McLaren tartans really resembles a handkerchief that Queenie sent me. So if I could get about 24 handkerchiefs, get Edna or Jewel to sew them together, I'm home and hosed.
Marilyn's at West Rosebud. Hello, Marilyn.
Hi, Phil and Andrew.
Yes, Marilyn.
I've got three unusual names that I had in my day. I had a girlfriend called Nicolette.
Yeah.
Nicolette.
And I had a neighbour called Isolette.
Isolette.
And, yep, and my nana's sister's name was Trifina.
Okay.
And to finish it off, I've got something for you, Phil.
Yes.
A Roman and a Roman with a lassie by my side. Roman and a Roman. That's all I know.
Oh, that's lovely, Marilyn. You never let us down.
No. I think Marilyn's taken you to Scotland again. I don't think the Bradys were roaming in the gloam, and I think they were sort of squeaking through the peat bogs.
And the funny thing is, this might be the only Scottish guy who lives in all of Colombia, South America.
I know.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn.
Yes, nice to hear from you. Of course, Norma at Briar Hill. Hello, Norma.
Hi, and hi, Phil and Andrew.
Hello, Norma.
Norma.
And now, look, I've been working in the Red Cross shop for over 20 years, Phil, and I have never seen a Scottish.
Oh, okay, thanks for telling me.
And look, but I've got the pin if you do finish.
Yeah, hang on, a nice big safety pin, thank you.
And Phil, you with your parking fine, I got one too.
Yeah.
In Little Street over here in Briar Hill. And
how much?
$91.
Yeah, and to be fair, I deserve mine. I was parked where I shouldn't be.
Well, I don't think I did. They had the little white line up this little side street because I was going to get the bus. And I was just a little bit over that white line. And when I come home from the op shop, here was the fine. I've written a letter, and that was a couple of months ago.
And did you send them a photo as well?
No, I didn't send them a photo, but I thought they might waive it. But that's months ago, and I haven't heard.
Oh, well, maybe you better pay up then if they haven't acknowledged your letter.
Yeah, but I went to pay it on the date, 2nd of Feb. But they said, no, they're looking at the letter.
Yeah, and you know, if Bruce was here tonight, I reckon Andrew he'd offer to pay the fine, don't you, for Norma?
There you go.
He was always good for a buck or two, wasn't he, Bruce?
Okay.
Had that wallet opened so quickly.
Okay.
Thank you, Norma.
All right, darling, bye.
Winifred in Killal Park. Hello, Winifred.
Hello there. How would you like some old names?
Please.
Yes.
Winifred Louisa.
Oh, very pretty name.
Oh, very pretty. I absolutely loathe it.
Do they call you Winnie?
Oh, don't tell me. No, I spell my name now W-Y-N. I am Win.
Oh, yeah.
But I was named after two grandmothers. Yes. And I always was really crooked on it because my brother named after two grandfathers, and he was Robert John.
Good, solid names.
Yeah, but my initials were, my maiden name was Clark. So I wasn't only W.C., I was Water Lavatory Closet, WLC.
Oh, you would have had a bad time at school.
Oh, tell me about it.
But I'm sorry, I disagree, and I think Phil's the same as me. I love Winnie as a name. I think Winnie's such a sweet name for a girl.
No, No, to me, it was like I used to get Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
You know,
yeah.
you got all these comical names.
Oh, yeah.
So now I spell my name, as I said, W-Y-N.
Yeah.
And my surname, believe it or not, is Fay.
Mm.
Oh,
So
Which-
I am Win Fay.
Which is normally a Christian name, yeah.
Yes, well, it's F-A-H-E-Y, which is Irish.
Yeah.
Only the Irish would spell it like
Well,
that.
it could be worse, as I said to Simon the other week. If Di Roll, who is in the public relations, PR lady, if she married Chris Rea, the singer, Chris Rea, fool if you think it's that, who would she be? She wouldn't be Di Roll anymore, would she, Winifred?
No, that's true.
Who would she be?
Well, we all know. Thank you, Phyllis. I think we've got the picture.
Okay, Winifred, thanks for calling in.
I like it. Bye to you. Pat in Vermont South. Hello, Pat.
Oh, hello, Phil. I'm just ringing to say that if you want a kilt, I've got 5 and you're welcome to borrow one of them.
Oh, look, it's very kind. No, I'll need this as a gift for a wedding in September, so it wouldn't be borrowing one. I'll be actually buying one. How come you've got 5, Pat?
Because we're Scottish, obviously, my husband and I, and my son got married several years ago with his 2 brothers in the wedding party.
Yes.
And we bought the kilts from Glasgow in Scotland.
Oh, no, you hang on to those. That'd be very special
You're
for you.
welcome to borrow them if you like.
Yeah, if I wear one to the wedding, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? Bring it back to you.
Yes.
But leave your number with Bianca.
That's a genuine offer.
Thank you so much. Still 6 months away, but
Yeah.
I'd hate to borrow something be like wearing someone else's trousers, wouldn't it? Wearing someone else's kilt.
It's a little personal.
And by the way, there's nothing worn under the kilt. It's all in good working order.
Ah, good on you, Pat. That's a good line to finish on.
When you get your...
Thanks to Queenie for sending this in, called Good Looker. I have a place for everything and all is in its place. But when my hubby's searching, things just vanish without trace. He opens up the cupboard door and says, "It's not in here." I think he's waiting for the thing to wave at him and cheer. Must be in here somewhere. You just used it yesterday. "No," he says, with arms still folded. "No, not in here, no way." By now I'm getting crabby because I've got my job to do, and for the sake of peace I take up searching too. I reach inside the cupboard and shift a tin or two. Do you believe in miracles? The thing comes into view. And does he hug and kiss me because the flaming thing is found? No, not on your life. That's when he turns the situation round. He accuses me of hiding it. "You shouldn't shove it in here." "I haven't shoved it anywhere, at least not yet, my dear." So now I'm an inventor, and I'm working on a plan to make a see-through cupboard that will liberate my man. The shelves are all transparent. Things are set to wave and cheer automatically when someone says, "It's not in here."
Copyright restricts distribution of this piece by any means of duplication.
One of the biggest coincidences of my life. There was a tenor back in the 1930s and 1940s, and his name was Richard Crooks. Long forgotten. People my age and older might have fond memories.
A Luciano Pavarotti of his day.
Yes, it was. Beautiful voice, an American by birth.
That's right.
And he died in 1972, only was 72 years of age, born in the USA in 1900. And I have one of his CDs, which is very rare, and I was playing it in my car over the weekend, and I said to Andrew, "And what CD is in your car at the moment?" Guess what the answer is?
Richard Crooks. I couldn't believe it. What are the odds against it? We're about the only 2 people left in the world, or in Australia, who would remember him.
Look, we're either going to have to buy a Powerball or get married. I mean, there's no choice after that.
I take the former every time.
Thank you so much, Rowena. It's been lovely tonight working with you. Rowena Johnson. And your
Rowena
offside,
Johnson.
Bianca was there with her, pushing buttons. And Andrew, the good news is I look forward to your company tomorrow night.
It's always a pleasure to work with you, Phil. Thank you so much.
The sick, the sad, the lonely, the grieving, the homeless, you're often in our minds, but always in our prayers.